Namaskar. Today we will see the superolateral surface of cerebral hemisphere. The superolateral surface lies between the superomedial border and the inferolateral border. The anterior part of inferolateral border is called as superciliary border. This surface shows three poles: the frontal pole, the temporal pole, and the occipital pole. It also shows three main sulci. This is the central sulcus. The central sulcus begins just behind the midpoint between frontal pole and the occipital pole. It cuts the superomedial border and runs downwards and forwards for about 9 centimeters. The area in front of the central sulcus is frontal lobe and the area behind it is parietal lobe. In front of the central sulcus there is motor area and behind it there is sensory area. So it is one of the example of limiting sulcus. The second important sulcus on this surface is the lateral sulcus. The stem of lateral sulcus begins near the anterior perforated substance, and on the superolateral surface it divides into three rami: the anterior ramus, ascending ramus, and the posterior ramus. The posterior ramus extend upward into the parietal lobe. Area below the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus is temporal lobe. This is the occipital pole, and about 5 centimeters proximal to it on the superomedial border there is parieto-occipital sulcus. It begins on the medial surface and very little part reaches on the superolateral surface. And on the inferolateral border there is preoccipital notch, and the imaginary line connecting the parieto-occipital sulcus and the preoccipital notch separates occipital lobe from the temporal and parietal lobe. So say this is the first imaginary line. From the straight part of the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus we can draw second imaginary line, and area above it is parietal lobe, area below the second imaginary line is temporal lobe. In the frontal lobe, anterior to the central sulcus and parallel to it lies precentral sulcus. The sulci may be single or they may be divided. The area between central sulcus and precentral sulcus is the precentral gyrus. Anterior to the precentral sulcus there are two horizontal sulci, superior frontal sulcus and inferior frontal sulcus, and these two sulci divides the remaining part into three gyri: superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, and the inferior frontal gyrus. The inferior frontal gyrus is again divided by the anterior and ascending rami of the lateral sulcus into pars orbitalis, pars triangularis, and pars opercularis. Pars triangularis lies between anterior and ascending ramus. The pars triangularis and pars opercularis, they form the Broca's motor speech area. Below the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, this is the temporal lobe. It shows two horizontal sulci, superior temporal sulcus and inferior temporal sulcus. And this sulci extends into the parietal lobe, into the inferior parietal lobule. So these two temporal sulci divides the temporal lobe into three gyri: superior temporal gyrus, middle temporal gyrus and inferior temporal gyrus. This is the parietal lobe. Behind and parallel to central sulcus there is post central sulcus, and the area between central sulcus and post central sulcus is the post central gyrus. The area behind the post central sulcus is divided by the intraparietal sulcus into two lobules, superior parietal lobule and inferior parietal lobule. This is the occipital lobe, and in front of the occipital pole, this is the lunate sulcus. The lunate sulcus limits the visual cortex, and above it there is superior polar sulcus and below it inferior polar sulcus. This is the lateral occipital sulcus. The area above it is superior occipital gyrus, area below it is inferior occipital gyrus. The area curving around posterior ramus of lateral sulcus is called as supramarginal gyrus. Area curving around the posterior end of the superior temporal sulcus is called as angular gyrus, and the area curving around the inferior temporal sulcus is called as arcus temporooccipitalis. This is the parieto-occipital sulcus. The area curving around it is gyrus parieto-occipitalis. This is the central sulcus, and in front of it this is precentral gyrus, that is motor area, area number 4. This area shows large pyramidal cells, giant pyramidal cells of beds. Here the body is represented upside down, means head, neck, upper limb, thorax, abdomen. The lower limb and genitalia are represented on the medial surface. The area of the cortex representing a part of body is not proportional to the size of that part, but it is proportional to intricacy of movements in that region. Thus, relatively large area of cortex represents the hands and lips. The posterior part of the superior, middle and inferior frontal gyri forms the premotor area. The posterior part of the superior frontal gyrus and middle frontal gyrus, that is area number 6 and area number 8, is very important, and this premotor area is very important. It is responsible for more intricate movements. Stimulation of this area leads to more intricate movements. It is responsible for programming the intended movements and control of the movements while in progress. In the posterior part of the middle frontal gyrus, there is frontal eye field, and stimulation of this area leads to conjugate movements of eyes, means both eyes move to the opposite side. The remaining area is called as prefrontal area. It is concerned with somatic and visceral activities. In the inferior frontal gyrus, the pars triangularis and pars opercularis forms the area number 45-44 of Brodmann. This is the motor speech area, Broca's motor speech area. Injury to this area in the dominant hemisphere, means in the left cerebral hemisphere in right-handed person, will lead to aphasia. There are other speech areas in the superior and middle temporal gyri extending into the inferior parietal lobule. This is the speech area of Wernicke. This is the sensory speech area of Wernicke. Behind the central sulcus, there is post central gyrus. This is area number 312. It is the first somatosensory area. The body is represented upside down in this sensory area, that is first somatosensory area. Area for any particular part is not proportional to its size, but it is proportional to the sensations received by that area. So tongue will have wide representation in this area. In the inferior parietal lobule, in the lower part, there is second somatosensory area. The sensory speech area of Wernicke extends into inferior parietal lobule into area number 39 and 40, and this area is responsible for interpretation of speech. This is the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, and in the floor of the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, there are anterior and posterior transverse temporal gyri, and they form the auditory area, area 41-42. Some part of this area also extends into the upper part of the superior temporal gyrus. In the occipital lobe, we can see the area number 17, the primary visual area, area number 18 and area number 19. Area number 18 and 19, they are also called as association visual areas or psychovisual areas. Area number 18 is peristriate area, while area number 19 is parastriate area. The light impulse first reaches area number 17, but the interpretation of light is done by area number 18 and 19. Now we will see the blood supply to the superolateral surface. Most of the area of the superolateral surface is supplied by middle cerebral artery. Less than 1 inch strip along the superomedial border up to the parieto-occipital sulcus is supplied by anterior cerebral artery. The whole of the occipital lobe and the inferior temporal gyrus, excluding a part near the temporal pole, is supplied by posterior cerebral artery. Thank you.